Hello and welcome everyone to our Cyber Resilience Skills 101 webinar series. My name is Luciano from the Customer Success Management team, and I will be your moderator for this session. I'm pleased to welcome Brian Garlano and Jennifer Anama, who will be presenting an in-depth overview of Quest GPO Admin. They will address your questions during the Q&A session following the presentation. Thank you for waiting. That would have given everyone a moment to join. Let's get started. Today's session will focus on comparing AGPM with GPO Admin, exploring advanced workflow management and version control, reviewing reporting, compliance, and Intune integration. With that, I'll hand it over to Brian to guide the session.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Garlano. I'm a strategic solutions consultant with Quest, and prior to my time here, I spent 25 years in infrastructure IT managing Active Directory, Exchange, Office 365, and Azure. Thank you for joining our GPO Admin 101 webinar, where we will discuss how GPO Admin will not only be a great replacement for Microsoft's Advanced Group Policy Manager, AGPM, as it goes end of life, but it also goes far above and beyond AGPM with many more features to help manage your on-premise GPOs as well as your Intune policies and profiles. Sure, it's a dramatic title, but fitting because while GPOs fly under the radar, they are often attacked. Think about it this way. If someone was trying to break into your environment, they need a few things to achieve their goals. They need to elevate access. Gaining user-level access on one endpoint is not going to get them anywhere. They need administrative access to take control of the environment. They need to be able to move around, working their way laterally and vertically to get to the location that gains them the access. They need to be able to expand easily. Again, one endpoint is not going to get them to their goal. And they must be stealth, moving under the radar, with abilities to remove their fingerprints as they escalate privilege. Also, group policy isn't at the center of most security strategies. In fact, it's often looked at as a set-it-and-forget-it technology. It was configured a long time ago and goes untouched. This makes it a perfect target for bad actors to attack. Why? Because group policies allows for access to and control over every system, making it much easier for them to expand, as we mentioned earlier. It allows for the bad actor to work undercover because GPOs are part of the Microsoft infrastructure. Teams may not be auditing changes to those policies or protecting them from change. This makes it easy for bad actors to change settings on a policy to lessen security or easily push scripts and executable files to many systems at once, allowing them to own the environment. Microsoft Windows group policy is powerful, but complex and difficult to manage. Uncontrolled changes can have disastrous consequences. For example, unplanned effects of a group policy object change could prohibit hundreds of users from logging on, exclude access to critical software applications, or expose system settings. The Group Policy Management Console, or GPMC, from Microsoft is a useful tool for the individual administrator, but additional functionality such as check-in and check-out, templates, change control, and rollback is needed to effectively manage GPOs across the enterprise. As one of the most robust configuration tools in your Windows infrastructure, group policy plays a major role in establishing a secure and compliant networking environment for your users. With group policy regulating everything from critical business processes and security settings to individual workstations and printers, managing GPOs can become time-consuming and expensive. Microsoft Advanced Group Policy Management, extends the capabilities of the Group Policy Management Console to provide comprehensive change control and improved management for GPOs. However, even though it has a few similar features to GPOADmin, Microsoft ended mainstream support of the tool in 2018, and extended support ends in 2026. So let's talk about some of the similarities between GPOADmin and AGPM. When discussing core functionality, version control is available in both products. However, AGPM only gives you the option to keep those registered GPOs in one change control folder, making flexibility of delegation very hard. And speaking of delegation and administration, roles are available in AGPM, but there are only 12 permissions that can be granted, and it does not have the ability to modify the built-in roles or create custom roles, which makes it tough to give the specific permissions you might want to give to different parts of your team. History of versions and the ability to roll back are similar between the two solutions, except AGPM does not show as much detail or allow for auto rollback. Change management and workflows are available, but the approval workflow is not as granular, and everything must be done in the console. Email approval and rejection is not possible. AGPM will give you reports on the differences between versions of a single GPO, as well as GPO settings reports to show what is set in the specific policy, but that is where its reporting capabilities stop, making it hard to compare multiple GPOs in the environment to see if there is any overlap. AGPM was a great tool to help manage GPO infrastructure, but let's talk about how GPOADmin takes those management options to the next level and beyond. The version control root is the logical structure where you would configure how you want your team to access the GPOs, and also where they are able to link those GPOs to scopes of management or OUs. You have the ability to build out this folder structure however you see fit for your organization. For instance, maybe you have teams that manage specific GPOs and OUs they are linked to for that part of the infrastructure they manage. So you build out your folder structure based on team. Or maybe you are following the Microsoft tiering model and you want to separate out tier 0 workstations and servers from tier 1 and tier 2. The folder structure can be built out that way as well. Once the folder structure is built out, you have the ability to delegate permissions on a granular level from folders down to a single GPO, giving access to a single user or a group and customizing roles. So they only have the very specific rights that they need to edit, create, or deploy those GPOs, and the list goes on for permissions. You can configure approval processes from an individual to be a second set of eyes prior to deployment or an entire team, and choose different approvals for GPO actions like create, modify, and delete, helping to make sure your administrators are adhering to organizations' change control policies. There are many different notification options you can subscribe to across the entire workflow. So you get notified to everything, over 25 different notifications, or only the specific parts of the workflow process that are important to you. Auto remediation processes can also be configured on a folder or single GPO level by leveraging the Watcher service, which we'll discuss later in the slides for changes that occur outside of GPOAdmin itself. Again, making sure that your admins are adhering to versioning and change control processes. With delegation, you can go as granular as providing a single right to a single person. For instance, maybe you only want someone to be able to deploy the GPO after edits and approvals are completed, all the way to setting up a role that provides deeper access to a team that is capable of the management of certain GPOs. GPOAdmin gives you that flexibility. As we can see here, we delegate create, delete, deploy, and edit rights for a new role we are creating for our desktop team. And any rights we don't want to grant, for example, block notification inheritance and delegate security, we leave unchecked. With GPOAdmin, you have over 50 different rights that you can hand out to different groups and users. So you can create any role or access that fits your organization's needs. GPOAdmin has the ability to protect your GPO infrastructure far beyond the capabilities of AGPM in 3 different ways. First, by simplifying delegation, as we talked about in the previous slide, allowing you to only give the rights that are specifically needed to administrators and users through the GPOAdmin solution. Because we're doing delegation in the application, this allows for setup of least privilege to secure the environment, meaning one specific account to make the changes to the production GPOs. And not only can it leverage least privilege with a service account, but it can even use group managed service accounts while the application keeps track of who made the changes to the working copies prior to deployment. Yes, you heard that correct. During the check-in and check-out process, a working copy of the GPO is created and the edits are made on that copy. Then once deployed, that copy takes over as the live production policy. This ensures that no edits are applied in production until the policy goes through edit, approval, and deployment. Secondly, GPOAdmin has the watcher service that we mentioned earlier. It will detect any changes made outside of GPOAdmin for any registered GPOs and mark them as non-compliant, as well as alert you via email. From here, you can make decisions on what you want to do about the changes, whether it be roll back to the previous version, incorporate the change into the live production GPO if you don't see it being harmful, or unregister the GPO if you don't want GPOAdmin to manage that policy any longer. It also has the ability to revert links back to their previous state as well, if they are registered and under version control in the system. Not only can these decisions be made manually, but all of these options can also be set up for auto remediation for specific folders or specific GPOs, giving you greater flexibility and control over your environment. Lastly, GPOAdmin has the capability to create protection templates around policy settings that you may not want anyone to change. For example, the default domain policy may have certain important settings that, if changed, could create havoc in the environment. By protecting these from change, GPOAdmin can make sure that those settings are never edited by certain administrators. If an administrator makes changes to those settings and checks the policy in, GPOAdmin will stop the check-in process and make the admin change those settings back to the original value. to allow the policy to be checked back in. This will make certain that administrators that do not have protection override rights have to seek out someone to make changes if necessary. GPOADmin detects changes regardless of where they are made. If it's via the GPOADmin console, check out the policy and check it back in, and we see the minor version change. If someone tries to make a change outside of the versioning, GPOADmin will mark it as non-compliant and create a new version when remediated. Each GPO version is automatically saved, and comments can be added to each version. For example, administrators can note the reason for each change, allowing others on the team and approvers to know exactly why the edit was made. Once the GPO is ready and deployed, the major version of the GPO will then be incremented. The same holds true for scopes of management, or OUs, as we know them. We can put workflows and versioning around those as well, so we can keep track of where GPOs are linked and roll back if needed. By having versioning, we can automate rollback to the previous version if changes are made outside of the application, or we can manually go back and get a specific major or minor version that we may want or need to roll back to. Once the policies are done being edited and checked in, they go through an automatic workflow process where the edits are reviewed and approved or denied. It gives you the flexibility to have a single approver, maybe if it's a small organization, a group of approvers. For instance, the entire desktop team needs to approve prior to deployment, or stages of approval, where a junior admin submits the GPO for approval, the senior admin approves first, then manager second, and director third. No matter how the workflow is set, GPOADmin's review and approval workflow process allows administrators and managers to verify the changes made to GPOs, make sure they are following organizational requirements, and that best practices are being followed before they are implemented. Not only do we have the ability for detailed workflow and approval processes, but we can also optionally set up approval through emails. This allows for approvers to get an email with an attached settings and differences reports so they can easily see color-coded changes in the GPO showing additions in green, removals in red, and changes in blue. Once approvers make certain those changes are correct and not going to cause issues in the environment, they can then click approve or reject right from the email, making the change process smoother and easier for deployment and help save approvers time. Administrators can compare any versions side by side from a single GPO or multiple GPOs. How can this be done? Choose your base version, whether it be the live production GPO or a past version, and then choose as many versions as you want to compare. This helps identify settings that have been modified and helps verify setting consistency, which allows for easier auditing of GPOs across the organization for administrators and security teams. See something in a GPO and feel it can be merged with another? No problem. With GPOADmin, we can merge multiple GPOs into an existing policy or create an entirely new policy, all while getting conflict resolution options for duplicate settings that are turned on but values that are different, making for much easier cleanup and consolidation of your group policy environment. Administrators can lock GPOs as well. Once a particular GPO is locked, it cannot be edited until it is unlocked again. GPO locking prevents unwanted changes to production GPOs and encourages administrators to be cautious when editing. Depending upon who is given the right to unlock the GPO and how the lock is implemented, the locking process provides a level of security. In addition, administrators have the ability to cloak GPOs. Cloaking hides GPOs. Cloaking is helpful to administrators when they're working on a GPO that isn't ready to be shown to others. Only those with cloak-uncloak rights can see the hidden GPOs. GPOADmin provides powerful reports for object control by GPOADmin for settings and differences reports to comparison and deployment. We can even integrate with our change auditing tool to give reports on where the change took place, for example, a specific domain controller or the originating machine that the user was on while making the change. There is technical reports as well for troubleshooting reports to make sure that the policies are working the way they were intended, where they are linked, if there are any inactive policies, and what their settings are, just to name a few, giving you more visibility over your environment. GPOADmin also includes a search feature that can help administrators find GPOs and other objects by status. You can even take some actions right from the search pane. As we can see in this screenshot, maybe we want to make sure there are no GPOs pending approval. And if there are, handle those requests so that you're not holding up the approval process and deployment. Or maybe someone accidentally deleted a GPO, creating an outage in the environment, and we want to restore it. We can search for deleted objects and restore that object from the backups. We make searching for GPOs much easier with our built-in searches, but maybe you're in need of a specific search. You have the option of creating a custom search folder with different filters to help you get exactly what is needed. With GPOADmin, you have the ability to connect multiple instances to one console. If you have trusted domains or forests, you'll only need one GPOADmin instance to manage all those domains and forests, making it much easier to keep track of each of those environments in one pane of glass. With untrusted forests, you will need to set up additional instances in each of those forests, but they can all be connected to your main GPOADmin console from there, and you will be able to work from that single pane. Synchronization is a feature that allows you to sync policy settings from one GPO to another in another domain or forest that may be configured as trusted or untrusted. As we know, standardization is the foundation of any good infrastructure. So it can help to keep GPO settings in sync from domain to domain or forest to forest. And another use for this feature is when you are migrating from one source AD to a target AD. We can clean up the consolidation and consolidate GPOs, then synchronize them to the new domain without the need to manually rebuild every policy in the new target domain, helping to speed migration time. That's right. Maybe you have started to or have been managing devices in Intune. We have the ability to connect to Intune and pull in your compliance policies and configuration profiles. Once connected, you will be able to create workflows, keep version control, roll back to previous versions, and get reporting as well. Delegation can be leveraged via the Intune portal, so certain admin only have access to policies and profiles for certain machines or users if needed as well, giving you more flexibility to manage your Intune policies and GPOs from one pane of glass. Looking to move some of your GPOs to Intune policies? New in version 5.21, we'll have an Intune readiness report you can run against your GPOs to see which policies are a good fit to be configured in Intune. As we can see, GPO admin can do much more than the native GPMC and AGPM, and we discussed most of it, but there's more. Maybe you want to keep track of those scripts you have in the environment. Or you leverage desired state configurations and are looking for a way to put change controls around those as well. GPO admin not only can manage scopes of management or OUs, but it can also manage versioning of scripts, WMI objects, and desired state configurations as well. Maybe you prefer to manage all of this with PowerShell. We have commandlets for all that too. How does all of this work? GPOADmin is a proxy-based system that lays over the top of the GPMC. It uses a SQL backend to hold its configuration data and a file share for backups. It allows for a single service account or managed service account to make changes to the GPOs while users and administrators are delegated permissions through its console and tracks the changes that are made. It uses the watcher service to make sure that GPOs are not modified outside of it and notifies when they are via email and marking the policy as non-compliant, and gives you the option to use a client to manage your policies or a GPMC extension that adds features to the native GPMC console if you feel more comfortable using that interface. The aspect of managing the GPO with flexibility comes from our GPO admin solution. It allows you to manage your policies with confidence, puts you in the position to roll back changes, have check-in and check-out capability so that people aren't trying to edit the same policy at the same time. But it also allows for the flexibility to put the solution into your daily workflow as well. Maybe it's executing a script while you check in a GPO so that it can open a help desk ticket to adhere to your change control process. All of these things come together to take you above and beyond and create what we call GPO admin. Thank you for your time. For more information, feel free to join us at our annual experts conference or find out more on quest.com.
Thank you, Brian. Now we're open for the Q&A. Please submit your questions through the chat, and we will do our best to answer them. Let's check the Q&A. Does anyone have any inquiries? Okay. In the meantime, I can also post the PowerPoint presentation here on the chat if you are interested in looking into that PowerPoint. And feel free to ask any questions. We will be here to answer them. In the meantime, while we wait for the questions, we would like you to join us for our next webinar on April 24th. You can register by scanning the QR code on the left side of the screen. We also appreciate if you take a moment to complete our short feedback survey using the QR code on the right side of the screen. We will be here a few more minutes to address your questions. We look forward to hearing from you. Okay, there seems to be a new post. Let me just refresh this. It says the sync target functionality wasn't described, which can also be handy. Um, Brian or Jennifer, yes, can someone answer the question there?
Um, yeah, so we had mentioned the synchronization in the presentation. You have the ability to definitely sync across multiple, forests or domains. So you can pull a GPO from one location, synchronize it to another, and you can definitely put that in different states. So if you want to deploy it automatically and be able to pull that across and just have it deployed, you can do that. If you want to pull it across to another GPO admin instance and have that in a checked out state so that you can go through your workflow and approval process, we can do that as well. So there's multiple different states that you can pull that GPO and synchronize it across into, and then have that um, standardized across your environments.
Thank you. Next question says, what is the licensing options per user, devices, or domain?
So our licensing options, we license everything by managed person. So that would be the number of employees and contractors, or heartbeats, we say, in the environment.
That's something that you should definitely work with your account executive to do. But there is no additional cost to monitor additional domains, if that's the question.
Awesome. Next question is, when is 5.2.1 coming out?
I believe it should be in the next month or so, if I'm not mistaken. Jen, do you have more info on that?
Yeah, I believe it might be coming out in the next month or so. So just make sure to check out our Quest support site, and they'll be sure to let that information out there when it's ready.
Awesome. Next one says, can GPO admin manage GPOs in other trusted forests or only its own AD forest?
No, so yes, it can. Um, if it's a trusted forest, you can actually use one instance of GPO admin, and uh, be able to connect to those other domains and see all that in one console. But we also have the ability to do it with untrusted forests as well. In that scenario, you would set up separate GPO admin servers in each of the untrusted forests. And then if you open up ports to be able to communicate back to, maybe you have a single main forest that you do all your administrative work out of, you can then connect to those untrusted forests via one single client so that you could see all those different forests in that client. But for untrusted, you only need one server and you'll be able to see everything inside of it.
Yeah, so GPO admin can really handle any network environment provided there's network connectivity.
Awesome. It says, since GPMC is still used as the underlying engine, how are improvements to this interface discussed with Microsoft?
That is a good question. We tend to continue to leverage that GPMC as the editing piece of the tool. So we're just using that, as administrative templates and things like that are pulled into that environment. You're still going to be able to leverage that as you're doing your editing of GPOs via the GPO admin console. So you'll still continue to be able to gain those extra pieces of the GPMC. We just kind of sit as a proxy over the top of it, so that you can get that versioning and get those backups in place.
Okay. Next question says, how actively is GPO admin still updated, and how can we add feature requests?
It's very actively updated. I actually just spoke with the production manager, and the product manager, and he said that the newest version to 5.21 is going to be coming out in July. And we continue to develop this product regularly.
Is there a link for the feature requests we can share?
It's probably best to work with your account executive, who will then work with the solution consultant, and then we have an internal system where we kind of submit those internal requests. But we're always welcome to feature enhancements from customer feedback, because that's how our product gets better. And
For
also,
sure.
just to circle back with the question for 5.2, I just heard back that it's scheduled later for the summer, most likely July, hopefully.
Thank you, Jen. The next question says, why is licensing based on number of users? Basing it on number of GPOs managed would make much more sense.
We tend to license via managed person. That way you have the ability to build out as many servers as you see fit in your environment, whether you maybe have a test dev or prod environment. You can that covers that entire license. So you'd be able to build out in those separate environments as well. Hence the reason why we license that way.
Thank you. It says, can you say more about how untrusted AD Forest can be integrated? It is just a view, or can the remote GPOs be managed?
Yep. So the consoles can be pulled into one specific client from those different servers, and you can manage, as long as you have the correct ports open across those forests, you'll be able to manage those GPOs with version control, and be able to do that management from a single console. Yep.
Okay, the last question I have here is, will version 5.2.1 support Windows Server 2022 or Windows 2025?
Yes, it will.
Awesome. Okay, I'll still give it a few more minutes in case someone else has any other questions. I just would like to let you guys know that this video is recorded, and there will be an on-demand version you can watch later if you like. That will be sent via email, so you can check it out, and also with the link of the survey if you would like to fill it out. There seems to be an additional question. It says, if there are different teams that manage GPOs for different OUs, are there RBAC roles for delegation granularity available to restrict each team? I'm sorry, I need to expand here. To restrict each team to managing and approving GPOs for their respective OU locations.
Yes, so we can build out that version control route any way you see fit for your organization. So if you wanted to build out a specific server team or a desktop team, or maybe you're in the tiering model, where you have your tier 0 assets, your tier 1 assets, your tier 2 assets, and then maybe a desktop and server team underneath that. You can build out each of those folders how you see fit. And then based on that, you can register your GPOs to that folder structure, and then delegate rights. You can create and delegate roles around those users. You can lock it down so that when that user logs in, they can only see that specific folder and its subfolders. You can really get granular with your approval processes if you want. So maybe you want a specific team to be able to approve, a modification to a GPO. Maybe you want another team to be able to approve, a creation of a GPO in that folder. You can really get granular with how do your approvals, the rights that certain people have, and protection that you can put around different GPOs as well.
Awesome. And the last question here is the Intune integration currently available?
Yes, the Intune integration is currently available, and we continue to add and develop to that integration as well. So, as of right now, we have compliance policies and configuration profiles available, and you have the ability to connect that to your tenant, and pull down those configuration policies and profiles, be able to put version control around them, and you can actually do delegation through the tool as well as through Intune as well. So only certain people can touch the policies and profiles that they need to be able to edit and configure.
And also, it'll offer restore capabilities. So if a policy had been deleted from the Intune portal, as long as you have it registered in the GPO admin console, you'll be able to back up and recover those policies if needed.
Okay.
And then just to let everyone know that in the new 521, there will be an Intune integration, kind of a readiness assessment. So it'll help analyze the policies to see if it's a possibility to move to Intune. So look out for that new feature coming out soon.
A continuation of that question, it says, do you have links, documents on the Intune integration?
It's part of our technical guide, which if you want, Luciano, you can share out or send a link how they could access on our customer support site.
Okay, I can add the link to the follow-up email, but in the meantime, perhaps we can get it before, while we wait for additional questions.
Let's see if I can pull that up.
Yeah. Okay, while we are getting that link for you guys, there seems to be an additional question. It says, will you support localized difference reports in the future? The reports are in English, even if the GPO admin server is installed on a different language and GP result is localized.
That's a good question. Sounds like a feature request. So we'll be sure to follow up with that with the product manager and see if that's something that's a possibility in the future.
Okay. So we will follow up with product management, but if I believe you would like to do a formal feature request, to reach out to the account manager, I guess, and to perform that request as well, right?
Yes, and also I've heard that you could submit feature requests through support cases as well. So as long as the customer has access to our support site, they can request features that way as well.
yeah, you can always go to our support portal at support.quest.com. Either you can open cases, look for knowledge base articles, and the technical documentation I believe Brian is looking for right now for the Intune integration.
Yep, I actually pasted that into in response to that question.
Awesome. That is great. Let me just refresh to see if there are any other questions. Okay, no questions at the moment. Let's wait a minute just to see if there is any new questions coming up. In the meantime, I just want to give a big thank you to Brian and Jennifer for sharing their expertise with us. Um, we're looking forward to continue to doing this informative sessions for you guys. We appreciate a lot your register, and we do like these questions as well. So feel free to ask them. Okay. Give it another minute just in case there's another question coming up. In case you missed it, at the very beginning of the Q&A section, I posted the link for the PowerPoint presentation that Brian used. I'll make sure to send that via email to everyone that registered, but you can access it right away if you just click that URL and take a look at it. Perhaps while looking at it, you may remember something you would like to ask. Okay, it seems there are no additional questions. I appreciate everyone for joining us today, and have a happy day. Goodbye.